Coffee with Miss Lee. A week after their dinner, Mr. Park wanted to see Miss Lee again. He didn't want to look too eager, but he also didn't want to wait too long. On Wednesday morning, he saw her in the lobby near the coffee shop. She looked tired but cheerful. He took a breath and walked over. "Good morning, Miss Lee. How are you today?" She smiled. "A little sleepy. I stayed up late finishing work. How about you?" "Same here. I had too much coffee yesterday." They both laughed. Mr. Park pointed at the cafe. "Speaking of coffee, would you like to have one before work?" She checked her watch. She had 15 minutes before her meeting. "All right, I can do a quick one." Inside the cafe, the morning rush was busy. There was only one small table left by the window. They sat down with their drinks. At first, they talked about easy things: the weather, weekend plans, and the slow elevator in their building. Then, Miss Lee asked, "So, what made you choose this company? You seem to like your job." Mr. Park smiled. "I joined because I wanted to work with people, not just computers. What about you?" "Same reason. I like helping others, even when the work is hard." For a moment, there was silence. Then Miss Lee laughed. "This sounds like an interview." "Then I hope I get the job," he said, smiling. She rolled her eyes, but laughed again. Suddenly, Miss Lee's phone buzzed. "Oh no, my meeting starts in 5 minutes." She grabbed her bag quickly. "Thank you for the coffee, Mr. Park. Let's do this again soon." "Sure. Maybe next time after work." She waved as she hurried out. Mr. Park watched her leave, smiling to himself. He didn't know if it was a date or not, but he knew it was a good start. The broken mug. Minho came home from work and put down his bag. It had been a long day. He walked into the kitchen and stopped. His favorite coffee mug was in pieces on the counter. He picked up the handle and sighed. Just then, his younger sister Jiyoon came out of her room. "Oh, you're home." "Jiyoon, what happened to my mug?" She froze. I'm really sorry. I was washing the dishes and dropped it." Minho frowned. "That mug was from Dad. You know that." "I know. I didn't mean to." "You never pay attention," he said, louder this time. Jiyoon looked down. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The sound of the refrigerator filled the room. Finally, she said quietly, "I already ordered a new one. It looks the same." Minho looked at her. "Really?" "Yes. It should come tomorrow." He sighed again, but softer this time. "You didn't have to do that." "I wanted to. I felt bad." Minho looked at the broken pieces again. He wanted to stay angry, but she looked so sorry that he couldn't. He picked up a small piece of the mug. "You know," he said, "Dad always told us not to fight over small things." Jiyoon smiled a little. "Yeah," he'd say, "it's just a mug." They both laughed. Minhu threw the broken pieces away. All right, let's order some dinner instead. Good idea, she said, smiling. The business lunch. Mr. Lee wanted to meet a new client from Japan. He thought a friendly lunch would make a good first impression. So he made a reservation at a popular restaurant near the office. On the day of the meeting, he arrived 10 minutes early. The restaurant was full of people, which made him worry that his guests might not find him easily. Therefore, he asked the waiter for a table near the window. A few minutes later, Mr. Sato, the client, walked in. He looked around carefully, but when he saw Mr. Lee by the window, he smiled and walked over. Mr. Lee stood up to shake his hand. Welcome, Mr. Sato. Thank you for coming. Thank you for inviting me, said Mr. Sato. They sat down. The waiter gave them menus. Mr. Lee knew Mr. Sato might not be familiar with Korean food, so he explained a few dishes. Mr. Sato listened politely and chose bulgogi. The food arrived quickly. The smell was strong, and Mr. Sato looked a little unsure. Mr. Lee noticed this, so he showed how to wrap the meat with lettuce and sauce. Mr. Sato copied him, tried one bite, and laughed. Delicious! I was not sure at first, but now I like it. I am glad, said Mr. Lee. This is one of our traditional dishes. The conversation moved smoothly after that. They talked about business, but they also talked about travel and family. The lunch was relaxed, and Mr. Sato seemed comfortable. When the bill arrived, Mr. Lee reached for it. Please, allow me. You are my guest. Mr. Sato nodded with respect. Thank you. Next time in Tokyo, it will be my treat. They walked out of the restaurant together. The meeting had started with small worries, but it ended with both men smiling. Mr. Lee felt confident that this lunch was the beginning of a good partnership.
잠깐만, 한 가지 말씀드릴게요. 혹시 제가 1대1로도 수업을 하는지 궁금해하시는 분들이 계신데요. 네, 하고 있습니다. 발음, 강세, 유창성, 문법, 단어 선택을 중심으로 한 1대1 개인 맞춤 영어 코칭이에요. 독학도 좋아요. 저도 많이 해봤어요. 하지만 아무리 영상을 보고 책을 많이 읽어도 분명 한계는 있습니다. 저와 1대1로 수업을 해보고 싶으신 분들은 아래 링크에서 자세한 내용을 확인하시고 우선 신청 리스트에 지원하실 수 있어요. 자리가 생기면 이 리스트에 계신 분들께 먼저 연락을 드립니다. 자, 그럼 다시 수업으로 돌아갈게요.
The Forgotten Birthday. It was Friday evening. Jae-ho was sitting at home watching TV when his phone buzzed. It was a message from his friend Minji. Are you still coming? Jae-ho frowned. Coming where? He typed back. A moment later, another message popped up. To dinner! It's my birthday! Jae-ho's eyes went wide. He looked at the calendar. The 14th. He had completely forgotten. He jumped up from the sofa, grabbed his jacket, and ran out the door. But the restaurant was across town, and traffic was heavy. He texted, I'm so sorry. I'm on my way. Don't start without me. By the time he arrived, Minji and two other friends were already eating. She crossed her arms when she saw him. Well, look who finally remembered. Jae-ho sat down, out of breath. I'm really sorry. I lost track of the date. Minji rolled her eyes, but she smiled a little. You're lucky I saved you some food. I'll make it up to you, Jaeho said quickly. Dessert's on me. That made her laugh. Fine, I want the biggest cake they have. After dinner, Jaeho went to the counter and ordered a chocolate cake for everyone. When it arrived, he took out a small candle from his pocket. Happy birthday, Minji, he said. Everyone clapped. Minji smiled. You didn't have to do that. I forgot the dinner, he said, but not you. Minji shook her head, smiling. Okay, fine. You're forgiven. The loud neighbor. It was Saturday morning. Mr. Choi was trying to rest after a long week of work. He made coffee, sat on the sofa, and closed his eyes. Just then, loud music started from the apartment next door. The bass shook the wall. Mr. Choi sighed. He had a headache, but the music kept playing. He looked at the clock. It was only 8:30 a.m. He stood up and walked to the door. For a moment, he thought about ignoring it, but the music got louder. He decided to knock. He knocked twice. No answer. He knocked again, this time harder. The door opened. A young man with messy hair looked out. Oh, good morning. Morning, Mr. Choi said politely. Sorry, but the music's a bit loud. The young man blinked. Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I'm cleaning and I didn't notice the time. Mr. Choi nodded slowly. It's okay. I just needed some quiet. Of course, I'll turn it down right now. The man hurried inside. The music stopped. Mr. Choi went back to his apartment. He poured more coffee and sat down again. Then he heard another knock. This time from his door. He opened it. The young man stood there holding a small paper cup. I made you some fresh juice for the noise earlier. Mr. Choi was surprised. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. The man smiled. I just moved in last week. I didn't mean to bother you. No problem, Mr. Choi said. Welcome to the building. They both laughed. The noise problem was gone, and Mr. Choi had a new neighbor to talk to. The gas station. The city was silent. Gina and her brother Minho were driving an old truck down an empty road. They had escaped the city, but the gas light was blinking. We need fuel soon, Minho said. There's a gas station ahead, Gina pointed. They stopped in front of it. The place looked empty. A broken sign moved in the wind. Stay in the truck, Minho said. I'll check inside. He opened the door slowly and walked in. The shelves were dusty. Cans, bottles, and a few snacks. He saw a red gas can behind the counter. Perfect, he whispered. But then he heard something. A soft, dragging sound. He froze. From the back of the store, a figure moved slowly into the light. Its clothes were torn. Its eyes were empty. "Gina!" he shouted. "Start the truck!" He grabbed the gas can and ran out the door. The thing followed, bumping into shelves. Gina was already in the driver's seat. "Hurry!" she yelled. Minhu threw the can into the truck bed and jumped in. Gina started the engine. It coughed, but didn't start. "Come on! Come on!" The creature stepped out of the store. Minho turned the key again. The engine roared to life. They drove away fast, dust flying behind them. A few minutes later, they stopped on a small hill outside town. Gina's hands were shaking. "That was close. Too close," Minho said, catching his breath. He looked at the red gas can in the back. It was full. "We have fuel now," he said. "We can keep going." Gina looked at the road ahead. Quiet, empty, but open. "Where to?" she asked. "Anywhere safe," Minho said. "Let's start looking." The truck rolled forward into the dark morning.